Good morning, everybody. It's your boy, Tommy D. It's Friday morning. It is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what does that mean? It is Philanthropy and Focus time. Every single Friday morning, I come to you from my attic. There goes the theme song in the background. I come from you every Friday morning from my attic, from the top of my house, right by the roof. That's where the attic is, and that's where I've been for 358 days, and I love it up here, and I don't know if I'll ever leave. It's my opinion that nonprofits unfortunately go unrecognized, underfunded, overlooked. And my answer to that, my solution to that is philanthropy and focus. So every week I bring on an executive leader of a nonprofit organization to tell the story. How is their organization making the impact? How is their organization handling the needs and providing the services that their constituents really require? And that's what we talk about. So my guest today is I'm going to introduce Taina in a second, but my guest is the programs director with Nonprofit New York, which is an incredible organization we're going to spend time learning about today. But each week, what do? We learn about the history of the organization, the genesis of their organization, why are they in existence, what are the programs that they're providing, and how are they making an impact. And today we have, it's awesome to have Taina here today because Nonprofit New York is a bit of a different nonprofit. They're making an impact for other nonprofits. So if we talk about the Tommy D ripple effect, the butterfly effect, right? What is the ripple effect of an organization that has 1,700 plus nonprofits that they're advocating on behalf of, they're educating, and they're helping network? So without further ado, Taina, I like to say this every Friday morning, and we'll start with this. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm
It's been
excited.
a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming because I've been talking about this show for about 2.5 years before I ever even started it. So
Yeah.
it was one of those things where I said, like, all right, big guy, you've been talking about this, go out there and do it. So I had the microphone, I had the whole setup. And then when they locked me in the attic, I figured, let's just do it, man. And
Why not?
now we're having fun. So I told my guest last week, my friend Dee Rodriguez from Hey There Beautiful, I was telling her, I didn't even realize it until I was about to start the show with her last week, that out of the 7 shows I've done, there's been 6 women on the show and 1 man, and aside from me, one male guest. And now the score is 7-1. And and when Renee Flagler comes here next week from Girls Inc., the score just keeps increasing in one direction. So I'm going to read a little bit of background that I found on, I want to then just like jump into this conversation. I want to learn about you, your commitment to the sector, what you do at Nonprofit New York, and then really the impact that the organization is making. So 2 years as a development assistant at the Children's Museum of Manhattan, then 5 years in development, membership coordination, and database management at the Brooklyn Historical Society, right? 2 years at Free Arts NYC as a database specialist. And then for the last 3.5 years with Nonprofit New York, first when we originally met as a membership manager, later promoted to membership director. And just last month, January of 21, you took on this role as programs director, right?
Yes.
So some people are always drawn to what they do for their career. And I find that what I think separates nonprofit professionals from other professionals is there's always been something drawing them to the sector and pulling them to the sector. Because as you and I know, this is not the sector that people go to get super wealthy. It's just the truth of it. Maybe it isn't right. Hold on. Maybe you're waiting. Maybe you'll wait for it. Wait for it. It's on its way. But it unfortunately it's that way. That's a whole nother conversation we'll have on a different day on the podcast. But what drew you personally to service, to being involved with the nonprofit sector?
Yeah, that's a great question. It started with a dream. So I think so. Just to start off with, so I am a immigrant from Haiti. Came to America when I was 2 years old. And so, I put a bit more stock in this than probably most people would. But my mother, when she tells the story of how I was born, she always starts it off with, she had a dream about who I would become before she ever even met me. And right, and she saw me helping other people. Now, she took that to mean that I was going to become a doctor, which, sorry, Mom, that didn't pan out. But I think, growing up, with that kind of destiny given to you, and that kind of fate put in, you know, your head. I've always been drawn to helping other people. I've always wanted to give back in some way. Um, and again, and as an, you know, and as an immigrant to this country, you know, like I struggled with the need to be quote unquote successful, right, and to become a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. So I actually ended up going to New York University Stern School of Business for undergrad, right? Because I was like, that's my trajectory. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go into business. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to become a lawyer. Halfway through business school, I realized that it wasn't for me. I couldn't do the competitiveness of that world. Something felt like it was missing. And so, you know, I asked my professors. I ended up taking a lot of nonprofit related courses. And one in particular was the instructor was Wayne Ho, right? Who is a phenomenal nonprofit professional himself. And he, you know, he kind of steered me and guided me and made me realize that I could take all of the things that I was learning in that setting and take it to the nonprofit sector, right? So for the last 2 years of school, I was like, so what do I want to do? What do I want to do? How am I gonna dip my toe into this world that I don't really know much about? So when I graduated, I only applied for nonprofit jobs. And I said to myself, if I go into development or into finance, those will help me bring my skills over, and I can do the thing that my heart tells me to do and still be faithful to my schooling, and to the things that I saw for myself, right, growing up. And so that's really how I got into the nonprofit sector. Started my first job at the Children's Museum of Manhattan, spent 2 wonderful years there, got to know what the nonprofit sector was like, met some incredible philanthropists through their board. It was eye-opening, because I think that's when I realized that, you know, a 501c3 is just, you know, a tax bracket, right? It's still a business. You're still hustling. You're still making sure that people know who you are and your brand. You're still trying to figure out what's the best way to get your product and your services out there to the most amount of people. And you're still looking for funding, right? You're still looking for people to invest. Nonprofit professionals are just asking people to, you know, invest in giving back, right? To invest in a social cause, to invest in a mission as opposed to a particular product or a particular service. And I think that's really the only thing that separates the nonprofit sector from the for-profit.
You know, that last piece, I couldn't agree with you more on, because it's, I think it's a miscue of the sector that
Mhm.
because it's called nonprofit, you know, there becomes this whole mindset and mentality. And while I'm not going to claim that I understand the sector completely, my experience in the sector is that limiting belief. Whereas an entrepreneur on the for-profit side wouldn't think in the same way. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
leaders in nonprofit do think like business owners. For sure they do. But I think
Absolutely.
there's this perception, unfortunately, that the sector is a certain way. It's, you know, hat in hand, it's a charity and things like
Right.
that, right? You know, your points there about marketing and finance and investing and the words you use just to describe your experience in the sector is incredible. And you know, it's funny, I'd never asked you that when we've been at events together or whatever. So I didn't know that whole story. So I'm excited that I was learning that right alongside our listeners today, to just understand that that was what drew you. So what a great story that You have, you go to NYU, you think you're going to get, be the businesswoman, the titan of industry, right? But what, I mean, look, when you're an executive director of an organization one day, right, which is, I imagine, probably where you want to be, right? Again, when you are, you've now brought with you, aside from all your experience in your other roles, you have this background in schooling that takes you to look at it. What was the gentleman you mentioned? Wayne Ho?
Wayne Ho.
Okay.
Yes.
He's a professor at NYU.
Well, he was back when I went, but that was like a generation ago now, or so it feels anyway. He's the president and CEO of the, of the Chinese American Planning Council here in New York City. He was a phenomenal professor. He's a phenomenal nonprofit professional. He's a cool guy.
That's, it's all about our relationships. That, we're friends, so that about me. It's all about the connection. So
absolutely,
it's so important to have those relationships with mentors and leaders and people you can learn from, because without that, there's nothing else. It's all about how do we help each other and impact each other. So let's get into a minute or two, if we could, about the background of Nonprofit New York. And even if you want to say, how did you get there?
Yes. So, again, got into the development world, and development can mean all kinds of things. And I found myself being drawn to membership and being drawn to, connecting with people and getting folks from point A, coming with an issue or a problem, and getting them to a solution. And so for, 10 years, that's the work that I did, right? So when I heard about Nonprofit New York, back in the day, it was called, NPCC, Nonprofit Coordinating Committee of New York, and saw that their membership model was other nonprofits. I thought, well, this is perfect, because I don't know which I went from a children's museum to a historical society to a organization that mentored youth through arts. And I said to myself, what exactly do I want to do? And so when I saw Nonprofit New York, it allowed me to connect with all nonprofits and still do the thing that I knew how to do and that I love to do. And so I applied, and they liked me back. And then, and here we are. All right.
So it's like, what is that? You swiped right. They liked you, you liked them. It was like, it was a fit. It's a match. It's a match,
even
baby.
Before what I was doing. Yes.
All right. We're going to do this. I want to hear all about, the beginnings of when you got there and where we go now. We'll dive into programs. We're going to do all that fun stuff. We're going to go to a quick break. It's Tommy D coming at you from the attic, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, here with Taina Sanon, Programs Director of Nonprofit New York. New York is in the house. We'll be back in 2 minutes, everybody. See you soon. Thanks, Taina.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you interested in having a better relationship with yourself, others, and God? Greetings. I'm your host, Dr. George Andow, for the show, A Journey Through into Awareness. On my show, we journey into the awareness that the mind of God is the true seat of our personal consciousness. We join together each Monday at 7 p.m., so tune in on Talk Radio NYC.
Did you know that nearly 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. battles mental illness? Hi, my name is Albert Daba. I'm the host of the show Extra Inning. Extra Innings, I discuss the topics of wellness, mental health, and the experience of surviving multiple suicides within my family. Listen live every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern to Extra Innings for discussions with sports figures, artists, mental health professionals, and many others. That's Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Graham Dobbin. Join me every Thursday evening for the Mind Behind Leadership here on talkradio.nyc. We speak to people from business, sport, military, and politics, all around what makes a great leader. The personal experiences of what's worked and, maybe more importantly, what hasn't worked. So that's 7 o'clock every Thursday evening, the Mind Behind Leadership here on talkradio.nyc. Listen to real stories of real leaders.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That is funny.
Love it.
Every time I hear that song, it makes
I
me
love
jump.
it.
I got my kids walking around the house singing that song. Join Tommy in his attic. That should be the new thing. Like everybody who's a guest on the show has to sing the song.
I love it.
It's gonna come on at least once more, so maybe we'll sing it. All right.
Yes.
So mom has this dream that this baby will be serving the community, will be serving the world, will
Yeah.
be helping other people, and that takes you on this journey into nonprofits. And I can't tell you how much I admire that, because people who know me know I'm very passionate about this sector, and the work that it takes and the service work that it takes by individuals like yourself and all the people that you serve and ripple and ripple and ripple. I'm just so jazzed and appreciative of that type of stuff. So thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for doing what you do. So let's talk about this. I want to tell you what I'm reading right off of nonprofitnewyork.org. 1,700 members served in fiscal year 2019. 50 trainings offered each year. 180 plus resources, tools, templates, and reports in the Knowledge Center. 2.5 million in annual tax exemptions preserved by advocacy work on behalf of the sector, and $3 million in combined annual savings by group buying program participants that are offered to members of Nonprofit New York. So you said, wow, I like them, they like me, there's something here, right?
Yes.
Let's tell me what is Nonprofit New York?
Yeah, so you are hitting my sweet spot. So Nonprofit New York, right? Our belief is that we strengthen and unite the nonprofit sector, right? And when the nonprofit sector comes together, we're stronger for it. And so I want to say since we put that up on the website, we need to update that. We've actually in the last year and a half, 2 years, have managed to serve 42,000 nonprofits.
Over the last 2 years, hold on a second, time out.
Mm-hmm.
Flag on the play. The last 2 years, you've been able to serve 42,000.
So we serve every nonprofit, right? So all 42,000. But in the last 2 years, clarification, we've managed to increase that to 4,000 nonprofits annually, right? Okay. And so we really, our advocacy and policy arm really ramped up. In the last year and a half, we launched launch is not a good word. We let it be known what it is that we felt the nonprofit sector deserved, and what our responsibilities were through our nonprofit Declaration of Rights. And since then, we've created several amazing policy platforms that have really advocated for the sector and made sure that people in government, both state and local, understand what is at stake for the sector, for the city, and what we do and what we bring to the table, right? Nonprofit New York has been around for over 35 years. We've always always had that stance, right? That we are powerful, and that healthy nonprofits are better equipped to focus on their mission and services, right? And so out of that belief, Nonprofit New York was born. Back then it was called NPCC, Nonprofit Coordinating Committee of New York. And we slowly built from, advocating and looking at regulations and making sure that we were being treated fairly, to getting feedback from the folks who we were serving. And people were asking for trainings, people were asking for resources and tools. And so in the 35 years since we started, we've built up an incredible kind of repository for all of those resources that we call the Knowledge Center. We've managed to increase our resources by over 17,000 resources, right? So those are tools, those are articles, those are templates. We don't want anyone starting from scratch when there are best practices available, and then there are things that, like, you don't have to create your policies from the ground up. Mm-hmm. We can help you do that. And so that's really our belief. We are guided by our key areas of nonprofit excellence. We have 9 key areas, and we believe that if you are strong in each of those 9 areas, then your management is based on a solid foundation, and you can focus on your mission, right? And so that's what we do in a nutshell. We've managed to, in the last year, help nonprofits save about $2.5 million in back-end office needs. So things like, liability insurance, things like health insurance, things like retirement plans, staples, desks, paper, access to financial management consultants to help you with your bookkeeping or filing your 990s, all of the things that keep an organization in compliance. We offer either a resource for it, or we offer a connection to a phenomenal consultant or vendor who can help.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, tell me.
What around, I've been to the Excellence Awards, which is I'd never been on the campus of oh my God, Columbia, and when I was like, how did I feel like this is New York City? Like all of a sudden I got off the train and I was in Connecticut all of a sudden. It was unusual, but I was on the campus for the Excellence Awards 2 years ago, and it's an incredible program that the team puts together. When you talk about programming and you talk about all these resources and you talk about the 42,000 what I would call prospective members or prospective recipients of these services, what's the bigger challenge? Is it getting out there and getting access to these people? Is it funding? Like what sort of holds it up a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above, right? Yes, and as we get out there and as we bring on more members, as we bring on more participants, as we bring on more partners, the need increases, which means our ability to serve and our ability to provide for those needs, those also go up. And that means we need more funding. We need more investment in our mission, right? And so that's always at the back of our head. Like, no, I would love to meet a nonprofit who isn't constantly fundraising in one way or another, right? If you know someone, please tell them to write a book, to create a podcast, because I would love to learn that. But I think for us, what really drives us is the hope that the nonprofit sector will be seen for what it really is, as an economic driver, as a large jobs maker, creator, what keeps the city up and running, right? And it's never been more clear than it has been during this pandemic. right? And how the nonprofit sector really just, went into full force. A lot of the folks who weren't able to work from home were, frontline workers, people on the ground from 501c3s, from nonprofits, right? From hospitals. And we need to be recognized for that, and we need to be given the respect that we deserve for that. And I think we're getting there. And I think one of our kind of like touchstones at Nonprofit New York is to make sure that everyone sees that and recognizes that and respects that, right? It's always in the back of our minds when we're doing our advocacy work. It's always in the back of our minds when we're thinking about, what kind of trainings we're offering, what kind of resources we're giving, who we partner with to provide services. We are very clear with our partners that nonprofits have to be near and dear to their hearts in order to partner with us if they're not a nonprofit themselves, right? It's one of our core requirements for our partners is, do you service the sector, right? What is the percentage of your work that goes towards the nonprofit sector? And that's really important to us.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it needs to be, because there has to be that same messaging that these are people
exactly
who are,
right.
And not that people necessarily would exploit the sector, but you want to make sure that they're thinking in the best interest of the sector. I looked before we started the program. I looked, and I think we came up with $7.7 billion. I think is in payroll dollars.
Yes.
Right? And 660 some odd thousand jobs. And this is the city of New York, ladies and gentlemen. This is not, this is not New York. This is the city of the 5 boroughs. That is an incredible amount of financial impact, social impact, right? Just really.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
It's sometimes, you sit back and you have to think to yourself, I am a part of that, right? Like, wow, I am phenomenal. I'm amazing, right? Like,
right on.
I wake up every morning and I say to myself, I'm going to go to work to do something that I love, and that at the end of the day will benefit another human being. And that's a phenomenal thing to be able to say.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I think, good for you, honestly, that you personally, that you're able to love what you do every day, making right on. I mean, you got to dig that. That's a big deal. Like, there are people in our society that go to a place and do a thing that they don't love. Not even that they don't love, they dislike what they're doing. So just like be fired up. And I appreciate your gratitude around that, because, it's that level of gratitude that really can precipitate out into the people
Absolutely.
That connect with and work with, and all these other organizations. So we're going to take a quick break again. When we come back, let's dive a little bit more into programs too, Taina.
Yes,
let's talk
please.
programmatically, and then talk about something fun that I want to talk about with you. So ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday morning. Tommy D in the attic. Taina's in the attic, kind of, sort of, virtually in the attic. So thanks for being in the attic. We're going to a break.
Anytime.
We'll see everybody back in 2 minutes.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Do you run or are ready to open your own business? Hi, I'm Jeremiah Fox. I've been operating and opening small business for the last 25 years, and I'm the host of the new show, The Entrepreneurial Web. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time for insights and stories on the nuances of running small business right here on Fridays at noon, talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Wise Content Creates Wealth. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 2. They say content is king. Well, wise content rules the world. Every episode features tools and tips for content marketing and business people telling the wise content stories of that success. Tune in every Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Join Tommy in his attic. Go ahead, Taina. Join Tommy in the attic.
You know, I'm not a singer, and this is live, and
All right, I'll sing. Join me in my attic every Friday morning, 10 a.m. EST, Eastern Standard. Meet us in the attic, learn about nonprofits. $7.7 billion a year in contributions from the nonprofit sector to the New York City economy, which is 9.4% of the NYC GDP, gross domestic product. 662,025 workers, almost 18% of all New York City workers. Big deal, this nonprofit thing, representing nearly 5% of all businesses in the city. That's just New York City, folks. That's a lot. That's a big impact. And on behalf of serving the sector, Nonprofit New York's Taina Sanon is here with me. I've mentioned it before, and she's here now. So, Taina, thanks again for being here.
Yes.
Let's talk programs. Let's talk what happens. I have this newly minted 501c3, and I say, let's say I'm in Queens or Brooklyn or the Bronx, and I said, gosh, I wish there was an organization that I could connect with that would give me the resources I need. Let me go to Google. And then I come across this nonprofit New York situation. Talk to me. What happens? What can you do for that?
yes. So, like as I mentioned before, right? We serve nonprofits in two ways. We strengthen them, right? We provide resources and education guided by our key areas of nonprofit excellence, and we rally the nonprofit community, right? Our strategy is grounded in the Declaration of Nonprofit Rights. And so you're a new organization, you want to know what the next steps are. So diving into our programs, we have our learning and resources. We last year provided over 77 learning labs, over, I want to get these numbers right because I just did our annual report. We had over 2,000 participants who registered for over 70 trainings and seminars, right? We try to provide, so these are 90 minute to 2 hour to half a day, really depends on the structure, learning opportunities where we bring you in front of an expert around topics like governance, communication, fundraising, DEI, HR, planning and eval, strategic partnerships. And I'm missing like two, right? So our workshops provide much needed technical and managerial experience for professional developments, right? And so, like, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but we really do believe that excellent management really does free you to really focus on your mission. And again, we are a business, and so you must have, the managerial skills in order to make sure that your organization continues for the long run.
So let me interrupt you for a sec. So just saying, well, we're a nonprofit and we're a charity, so we maybe the government agencies will understand, and and maybe if I didn't have workers' comp insurance in place, maybe it'll be no big deal. No, huh?
No, not even a little bit.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. We've created the organizational health assessment, right? So anyone who is out there thinking about what the next steps are for their organization, trying to figure out what it is that they can be, what are they doing well, and what can be a little bit better. We have our OHA, and that really kind of guides you through each of the areas of nonprofit excellence. And you score yourself, right? So like no one is looking over you. It's not a quiz. You score yourself, and you're as honest with yourself as you want to be. And at the end of it, you get like a raw score, and it's like, these are the things that you're doing well. Here are the areas in which you could improve in, or you might want to, take an extra class. And then you are able to set up, these 15-minute calls with me so we can walk through it. And then I can give you recommendations about what trainings to take, what resources we have available. What is it, sometimes it's not necessarily a lack of skill, but that people just don't have the capacity to do it. And so we also offer recommendations of things that you can outsource. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our Nonprofit Excellence Awards. And so the Excellence Awards encourages excellent management and governance practices. I hope you're seeing a trend here, right?
I think I am. I'm hearing something. Do you hear it? There's a theme, folks.
Right. Exactly. And so it tracks resulting management improvements among nonprofits who participate. And so what that means is, it raises public awareness for excellent management practices that already exist in the nonprofit sector, right? It's a year-long effort. It combines information, it combines assessment, feedback, and resources about the organization's management practices, right? So as they're going through this process, they're constantly getting feedback, they're constantly giving resources, and they're constantly sharing their innovation and their improvement. And then after the year, that culminates in what we like to call our Best Nonprofit Conference. People, understand that term various ways. And for us, that means that the goal is to become the best at what you do. Like, that's not the goal, right? The goal is to be better at what you do and to constantly grow. And the hope of the conference is to uplift the organizations who are doing best practices, who have implemented change, and then uplift them to the sector so they can get that recognition that they need, that they deserve. And then also for the folks who attend, for us to give you resources and for you to be able to connect with folks and to get, tips and tools and resources right then and there. We provide this amazing packet that you get to take home with you with all of the resources that we talk about in our 2-day conference right there at your fingertips. We're really excited about that. We actually saw an increase in participants in the Nonprofit Excellence Awards in 2020. So that was really exciting for us. This year, right, because we're always constantly innovating and growing, we are actually looking to focus on our equity work and to uplift our equity work and the work that the sector does. And we're doing this by, and I don't want to get too weedy, but we're doing this by going into our key areas and updating the document and making sure that we're looking at everything through a race equity lens, making sure that all of the best practices that we tell folks that they should have actually center around equitable practices, right? Because best practice doesn't always necessarily mean equitable practice. And so we're really focusing on that this year. We're also focusing on, through our advocacy work, getting the nonprofit sector into a space where they are civically engaged. I know that for some folks, that causes mild panic because there's so many rules around what nonprofits can do, around advocacy and around policy and around advocating. And so, but we want to educate our folks, right? That like all nonprofits are able to and should be advocating. We do it every day. Every time we talk to a funder, every time we talk to a government official about our mission and about the work that we do and about our communities, we're advocating. And so we want to make sure that folks remain civically engaged and that they actually take part in the work that's being done to shape our government. Because otherwise, how else will we make sure that we are that we're seen, right?
So how do you do that? You express that there's some mild panic that sets in when maybe you expose an organization to the fact that they should be out there advocating and be civically engaged and involved.
Yeah.
So how do you empower these organizations? How do you as a larger
so that's a great question.
Thank you.
We through our advocacy and policy work, we have several coalitions that nonprofits can participate in. We have the Coalition to Advance Nonprofits that meets every week on Monday afternoon. I believe it's around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If anyone is interested in that, please reach out to us and we'll get you started on those calls to get engaged and to start learning and to start.
Yeah, let's just talk generally. How do people get you? Let's do that.
I was hoping you'd ask, so I slipped it in there. Right, so Tommy had mentioned our website, nonprofitnewyork.org. You can always email us. You can email me. It's Sanon, TSANON @nonprofitnewyork.org. Right, you can catch us on social media. We're on Twitter at nonprofitny. You can call us. I have to tell you, I don't have my number by heart, but let me look it up. You can call us. My number direct is 646-893-2599. You can email our helpline, which is helpline@nonprofitnewyork.org. You can bump into us on the street. You could send us mail.
Wow, you're really
all kinds of communication.
You can just show
We've been
up.
around for 35 years. We've done it all.
I get it. Maybe could they send you a fax? You want them to fax you too?
I mean, we don't. Okay, so we don't do all. Okay, correction.
Somebody told I had to send something to someone the other day. I said, "Can you fax it?" I said, "What?" I didn't even know what that meant. All right, we're gonna sneak out for a quick break. What we're gonna do when we come back is I want to talk about this campaign that you and I have been talking about, because that's special to me, and we're trailing towards the end of Black History Month, so I think it's certainly relevant to bring it up today, and let's talk about it. So we will be back in the attic with Tommy D, Philanthropy and Focus with Taina from Nonprofit New York. We'll be back in 2 minutes, everybody. See you soon. Bye.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauver, employment law, business law attorney, and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Howdy, I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Gateway to the Smokies. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 7. Every episode is dedicated to memorable experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and surrounding areas. This show features experts and locals who will expound upon the richness of culture, history, and adventure that awaits you in the Smokies. Tune in every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 on talkradio.nyc.
Do you love or are you intrigued about New York City and its neighborhoods? I'm Jeff Goodman, host of Rediscovering New York, a weekly show that showcases New York's history and its extraordinary neighborhoods. Every Tuesday live at 7 p.m., we focus on a particular neighborhood and explore its history. its vibe, its feel, and its energy. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Tommy D coming at you from the top of my house, right next to the roof of the attic where I stay for 360 days. And unfortunately for you all, we don't have a duet, so I'll just sing in the attic. Taina didn't want to sing with me. Yes, woo, baby. All right. See, you are a singer. See,
I had to prep.
Yeah, you came out of your shell. We got it in for the final segment. Woo. That's it. From now on, ladies and gentlemen, this is a shout out to all the folks who will be coming on the show. Get the pipes ready and get ready to sing. That's a prerequisite to come on the program. From now on, we've set the bar very high today on 2/26/21. All right, so Taina, let's talk about what we sort of teased right before we went to a commercial. And you and your colleague Matt Chang and I, we had a conversation maybe a month ago, and then again a couple weeks back, or you and I spoke, and then Matt and you and me spoke, and the whole deal. Let's talk about that and frame it in that it is the last week of Black History Month, so this is a super relevant topic. So let's take it away.
Yes, thank you for that amazing intro. So what is it? So for small organizations, services that improve their bottom lines, help them build community, provide in-depth training and support to build their skills, can be expensive, right? Or inaccessible. And it's all that we do. It's all that Nonprofit New York does. And so we are launching a membership campaign. That's the name of it. We're keeping it simple, easy to remember. Membership campaign,
like that.
Where we hope to raise funds to provide support for organizations that are BIPOC run. So the hope is to get folks a 2-year membership with us, because we feel that it takes about 2 years as a new member to get the full breadth of what it is that we do, and to actually really dive into what we can offer. And so we're hoping to be able to offer 100 BIPOC run organizations 2-year organizational memberships. And what does that mean? That means your whole staff, your board, and all your volunteers have access to our resources, to our trainings, to the advocacy work that we do. And we are hoping to really help the smaller organizations that really are, just starting out or could really use the resources. So for organizations that have budgets that are under $250,000, right?
So let me come in real quick and interrupt you, just so we make sure everybody's clear. BIPOC, just define that for those who might not be in the know.
Yes, so that's Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We wanted to make sure that we differentiated BIPOC-led versus BIPOC-run, right? Because we want to make sure that an organization that might not necessarily have an executive director who is a person who identifies as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, but that the majority of their leadership does, right? That they gain access to this, right? Because again, the membership isn't just for the president, CEO, or the ED, or the president of a board, right? It's for the entire organization. And so we want to make sure that we are capturing that demographic, and that we're making sure that we're helping the folks that that could really use that services, folks who are on the ground, who are helping their communities and could really just use a bit of extra support, but they have no leeway in their budget, right, to become a member. And just so you kind of get a sense of like what we're talking about in terms of what they would be spending, like our lowest membership, because we're on a sliding scale, our lowest membership starts at $45 for the year, right? And then it goes up to $125. So we're looking at organizations who would normally be paying $45 a year, normally paying $125 a year, and are like, even that doesn't feel feasible to us right now, right? Or that money could literally feed another person that their mission is, or could advance a service that this organization is doing. And so to take it from that bucket to pay for dues just doesn't feel like something they can do. We want to break down that barrier, and we want to tell those organizations, no, you are the people that that would benefit so much from the work that we're doing. And so we've created this membership campaign, and the hope is that individuals, folks who also believe in our mission and who also want to do this great work will help us get these folks on board. And if it's okay, Tommy.
We could totally share what you're about to share, but before we do that, I just want to ask you, there's no limitation in this level of membership. They're a full-fledged member, they get access like everybody else, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
you get everything that you would get if you had walked in and was just like, here's my money.
So all the 77 learning labs, trainings and seminars, which go from 90 minutes to 2 hours, all the excellence, access, all the whole thing, right?
All
so these are members,
all our tools.
right? So this is an outreach saying to, if I understand it correctly, and I think I do because we've talked about it, is it's marrying these organizations that are on the front lines doing incredible work that can't even pick their head up to say, I want to become a member of nonprofit, because they're in the soup kitchen, right? Or they're in the prisons doing the great work that organizations do, right? So 100 members is the goal. So please, I know what you were going to talk about. So go right ahead.
So, as Tommy mentioned, we've been talking about this for a while together, and he has pledged to support 10 nonprofits at $1,000, right? Yep. And so what we're saying basically is for $100, you can support a nonprofit for 2 years. And so we're really excited about them. We're really excited to launch. Everything will be up and ready to go March 18th. If you are so inclined and you're, listening to this podcast or you're watching us on Facebook, reach out to me. I'm happy to take down your information, happy to take down any pledges. If you want to just do it right now and get it done. Just want to make sure that folks know that, again, we're not cherry picking these folks. There is a application process. It's not arduous. It's essentially just, who are you? What's your staff demographic or your board demographic like? And that's pretty much it, right? Like, we're not asking them what they're going to do. We're not asking them what they will be attending. We're not doing any of those things. And so we want to make sure that nonprofits know that as nonprofits move from the crisis through recovery, and that we're facing increased demand for services, serious budgetary and cash flow issues, a need to innovate quickly with limited lead time and resources, all while you're wrestling, with the work that you're doing with your racial equity questions in new ways, that we're here to support you, and that we are creating ways in which to break down the barriers to get the support that you need.
Your organization provides incredible resources every day. And, yes, I am involved with this campaign in a sense that Philanthropy and Focus, this is what we're about. All of us, everybody here in the attic, me and the show. And I wanted to be part of that. And the other thing I wanted to say to my friends who are listening to this program, if you are so inclined and you support nonprofits in the sector, I think I said 662,000 employees in the sector. They're making an impact on our lives every day. And some of those organizations are, as I say, they're kind of in the weeds with their head down, doing the work, doing the thing, and they don't get a chance to connect with an organization like this. So you can always get Tommy D. You know how to get me, Tommy D at philanthropyandfocus.com. On Instagram, tommyd.nyc. That's from New York City. You knew that already. And my kids joked about that. They're like, Dad, of course they knew what NYC meant. And I did that last week. So, excuse me. So, Taina, it's an incredible campaign. I'm happy to be a part of it. I intend to persuade some of my friends to be involved with it. It may be a little stronger than persuasion, but I intend to make an impact. So you and
appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. We'll work harder on how to drive that campaign going forward. We haven't finished up. Give me 30 seconds. How do they get you? And then we're going to roll out.
Yes. So come at me through our website, nonprofitnewyork.org. We are on Twitter at nonprofitny. You can email me at tsanon@nonprofitnewyork.org. You can email the entire organization at info@nonprofitnewyork.org, or you email our helpline. We are available. We're here. We are a resource. It is literally what we do. So please reach out and connect and let us help you not only survive, but thrive.
It's awesome. Thank you. Not survive. It's not about survival. It's about thriving. I appreciate that. And that's what the sector is all about. Don't forget, gang, Taina, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. And I caught your little joke in the chat. Yes, we're going to have to get you back on the show because 60 minutes, 50 some odd minutes is certainly not enough. But maybe we have some sort of segment where you pop in every month or so to update us.
Who wouldn't want to hear this voice? You're safe.
Well, we'll both do our work on our singing before that program comes on. I really appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday morning. It's 10:56. That means we've gone through Philanthropy and Focus. Again, we'll be back next Friday. My friend Renee Flagler over at Girls Inc. of Long Island will be on the program talking to us about the great work they do, helping young girls be strong, smart, and bold. That'll keep the score 8-1 in the women versus the men visiting here in the attic. So Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, have an incredible weekend, everybody. Check in with me. TommyD.NYC on the Instagram. You can find me at Facebook. You find Philanthropy on Focus on LinkedIn. And don't forget, Focus is spelled Phocus because I grew up in the late 80s and 90s and we used to say fat with a PHAT. And plus I like alliteration, and that's that story. Thanks for being here with us. I'll see you gang next week. Take it easy. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
You're listening to Talk Radio